Amerks win again. Sabre players playing well at the Worlds, and Jordan Greenway exit interview. All ahead.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on our YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe there at Sneaky Joe Sports, to follow me on Twitter at Locked On Sabres for the podcast account, which is a good avenue to always get involved with the show, whether that's a comment or a question. And of course, you're available or able to do that on our YouTube channel as well. Today on the show, the Rochester Americans win again, the World Championships. We'll have an update for you on the Worlds and a little bit on Jordan Greenway. What's ahead for him, how well he played, I thought, in the 17 games that he got in for the Sabres. All ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We'll start with a comment, though, pertaining to our last show. Zemgus Girgensons, Kyle Okposo, if only one stays and one goes, who should be the one that stays? And a lot of Zemgus fans out there for that. What Evan wrote is, if Okposo can just give us what he did last season, I'm for keeping him. This team is very young, will probably get younger, so his leadership is important. That's a good point, that the team is going to get even younger by number. Levi in for Anderson, let alone, that you're going to look at their average age, and it's probably going to be lower than it was last season. So I get that sentiment. Josh says, Tuck should get the C. Rusek comes up, takes a postal spot. Keep Girgensons if you want. But I think finding someone we need more like a face-off specialist to take his place could be a good idea. I think that's a fair point, too. Face-off specialist for one of those roles. They don't really have a face-off specialist on the entire team. I don't necessarily think you need one. But if you'd prefer to have one of those fourth liners be a PKer / face-off guy, then I can understand wanting to move on, especially from Okposo. The poll that we put up at Locked On Sabres, if only one stays, who should it be? Kyle Okposo or Zemgus Girgensons? And from the roughly 800 of you that voted, 54% said Zemgus. It's a close vote, a close split. Okposo right there after, but 54% in favor of Girgensons. So we'll talk a little bit more about the forward group coming up in a little bit. Jordan Greenway as an idea, that's ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. But we're going to be the Locked On Amerks podcast for the next couple of minutes here. They dominate the Hershey Bears in game one of the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe you got a chance to watch the game. First time maybe watching the game for you, watching this team for you on MSG. It was cool that MSG was able to pick up the Hershey feed, and they'll have that again for game two on Thursday night. And Amerks, and they got off swinging right away. They punched Hershey in the mouth right at the opening bell. And they're able to pull it off 5-1. But again, scoring in the first couple of minutes and getting contributions from every line. The veteran AHL guys really stepping up in this one. Joseph Sassoni scoring 14 seconds into the game. Brett Murray scoring halfway through the first period. Mason Jopp scoring in the second period. Lucas Rusek getting a goal, the empty netter late. The Amerks are scoring goals at will. 5 in this game. That is now 7 straight playoff wins for the Amerks. They've scored 41 goals. They've outscored their opponents 41-21 in those 7 games. That's an average of 6 goals per game. They're playing Don Granato hockey. They're playing up and down the ice. You saw it if you watch this game, that they move up and down the ice. They take chances. They want to score. And they've really embraced that identity that the top of the organization has. Yuri Kulich gets an assist in this game. He keeps his point streak going, and he has been dominant, of course, in these playoffs. He would be the MVP, I think, of these playoffs. Malcolm Subban played well, too, but he wasn't, like, crazy overly tested. I mean, he stops 21 of 22. There weren't really a lot of shots in general in this game. Shots were 22-22. Pretty close. But a lot of the Amerks chances were from in tight. The Hershey chances from all around, a lot from outside the faceoff circle. The Amerks were pushing to get their shot attempts from the middle of the ice. And I thought they were pressing all game long, and they deserved the win, and they got it in a big way, 5-1 over the Bears. Strong opponent, of course, but a great way to start the series. And they just keep running. And, there are those unsung heroes, guys that we don't always talk about. Yuri Kulik is one guy that we talk about all the time because of what he's going to mean to the Sabres someday. And Isaac Rozan is the same thing. And we do that a little bit with Lucas Rusek as well. But Sassoni, he's been good all playoffs. Brett Murray scores his 4th goal of the playoffs. Michael Murch gets his 6th assist. These guys, Jeremy Davies, who played a couple games for the Sabres earlier in the year on the blue line. Of course, Lawrence Pilot logging 20 to 25 minutes. Subban and net. Some guys that you've either heard of or got a cup of coffee with the Sabres and don't really mean much to the future of the organization, but contributing to this playoff run by the Amerks. And as I'm speaking, of course, the Sabres interrupting, but that's fine. Do we get enough Amerks in there for you? We'll talk more about them on Thursday, I promise. I meant to get through this whole segment with them, but I am seeing now breaking news on the show that's not breaking to you because you're seeing this after the fact. The Sabres have signed Kyle Okposo. Wow, I got that episode in just in time then, didn't I? Kyle Okposo back with the Buffalo Sabres. That is a 1-year deal. $2.5 million. He is back with the Buffalo Sabres, which means the Sabres will have their captain back for this season as well. 11 goals, 17 assists in 75 games. We just talked about him on our most recent show. This is not a bad idea to me. I wonder what it means for Zemgus Girgensons, but one of the two to me was completely fine. And what Okposo means to the room, I get it. If he wanted to come back by this signing, the notion is that he would. This is not surprising to me, and I see the value in it. He is the leader of this group. He could play 12 to 15 minutes a night. You could throw him on the power play still a little bit if you want to, although it seems like Don Granato has better options on that front. So, Okposo back 1 year, $2.5 million. They didn't need to sign him for the veteran minimum. They have so much cap space. Kind of maybe is that a sign at all? I'm going to try to make something out of nothing on the fly here. Maybe it's nothing. Is it a sign that they didn't sign him for the veteran minimum? They gave him $2.5 million. They were a team that needed to get to the cap floor this past season. And, if they wanted to be anywhere near the cap, they probably could have got a Okposo for $1 million. They felt comfortable giving him the $2.5 million a month before free agency. I think I want to say that they're not going to be near the cap this year anyway, so why not give Okposo $1 million extra? But anyways, good for Okposo is the biggest takeaway. Good for Okposo, and here's to hoping the wheels don't completely fall off, because the last thing you'd want is the Sabres to be in a situation which they were in once upon a time with Craig Rivet, right, where the captain of the team just didn't warrant being on the ice anymore. And you got him sitting in the press box. You got him out there as a healthy scratch. And you'd like to hope Okposo is not going to be near that territory, that he'll still warrant being in the lineup, provides enough value in his own end as a physical player, and potting a couple of goals in here and there, that he'll be okay. So Okposo, 1 year, $2.5 million back with the Buffalo Sabres. Time out here. When we come back, what's going on at the World Championships? Peterka, this guy on fire. And then we'll get to Jordan Greenway exit interview all ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. And we are presented by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back, because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, get the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to United States customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Kyle Okposo back to the Sabres on a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. What he means to the team, as I saw Matt Bove to steal his verbiage for a moment, that his importance to the rest of the group cannot be overstated. So Okposo's locker room presence, of course, a big reason why he is back. Now, what's going on over in Latvia and Finland at the World Championships? Couple of Sabres are taking part in the Worlds this year. And the headliner throughout the first 6-7 games so far easily is JJ Peterka. JJ Peterka for Team Germany is lighting the lamp. 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points in 7 games played. He is one of the leaders in the entire tournament when it comes to putting up points. Germany is still going. They're in the quarterfinals. They're playing Switzerland tomorrow. And Peterka, he is having the type of campaign where if they were to pull off an upset, Germany, and go far into this tournament, he could win MVP of the tournament, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. He's scoring, I don't want to call him McDavid-like goals, but he's going coast to coast and just schooling some of these teams. Like France the other night, he was just going off on, where he took the puck in the neutral zone, danced around a defenseman, went backhand, forehand over the blocker of the goaltender. Peterka has been a force to be reckoned with in these World Championships. And maybe that is some momentum that he's carrying into the tournament that came from the end of the year, where I thought he finished really strong for the Sabres after disappearing for the middle part of the season. So Peterka's been the number one highlight. Other guys that are performing well for the Sabres at the World Championships. Alex Tuch playing very well for Team USA. 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points in 7 games. They're in the quarters against the Czech Republic tomorrow, or Czechia, I should say. So Alex Tuch been a leader on that team, playing with his brother Luke Tuch. He's been putting up numbers. He did leave with an injury the other day, but he's okay. I think he did return. He got in a fight earlier in pre-tournament action. So Tuch's having a great tournament. And then some other guys that are be a little bit more up and down. Jack Quinn is who I should start with, though. Quinn, maybe not up and down. He's just been dynamite. 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. I saw the other night he had a very strong setup to Tyler Myers. Kind of weird. Current Sabre sets up former Sabre for a nice goal. He saw Myers flying in from the point. He feathered the puck over to him right in the wheelhouse, and Myers was able to bury it. Quinn, he's also got a shootout winner in this tournament so far. Quinn has been a legit top 6 guy for Team Canada, and I'm not sure that was the expectation for him going in. I thought maybe more he was a bottom 6 guy for that largely veteran Canadian team, but no, he's showed up and been one of their important players for sure. Peyton Krebs for Team Canada, a little bit more in the bottom 6. Been playing with Milan Lucic, actually. 1 goal, 1 assist. Now, he has been getting some power play time, which is nice to see. He's been a good setup man on that left wall. I'd like to see Krebs get more power play time with the Sabres next year. He's been doing really well at that. You can see moving the puck for Canada. Not playing a huge role for Canada, less so maybe even than Quinn. But Krebs has been playing pretty well for what I've seen. The guy that's not playing is Devin Levi. And what the hell? Samuel Montembeault from Montreal, he gets schooled in the shootout against Norway the other day. Levi's amazing in the shootout. Levi should be the starter for Canada, simply put. And instead, he's third on their team in starts through 7 games. He's only played the 1 game. Now, he got the win, and he only allowed 2 goals, .916 save percentage. But he's behind both of the other Canadian goaltenders right now in games played, and that's got to change. Will he play going forward? I mean, his tournament might be over. And that's kind of a shame. I'm not sure that he also was aware this was going to happen, because would he have gone all the way over there for 1 start? My guess is probably not, but I don't know. They play Finland in the quarterfinals. And again, the fact he only got 1 start in the round robin tournament, I'm not sure that he's going to see at the ice again for Team Canada, which is super disappointing. That was the number one thing I was looking for in this tournament. And that's pretty much it. Unless I'm missing somebody, that's what the Sabres are looking at the World Championships. All their guys playing really well. You just would love to see more action from Devin Levi. All right, timeout here when we come back. Jordan Greenway. Let's evaluate his season. What's ahead? What type of roles is this guy going to play? How does the trade look a couple of months after the fact? That's coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We're brought to you by Bird Dogs. And I'm done here. I'm actually going to my golf league, and it's a little chilly here in Buffalo today. It's going to be in the 50s, low 50s even by the time I tee off. So golf shorts ain't going to cut it. I need my golf joggers. And where did I get my golf joggers? Of course, with Bird Dogs. Super comfortable, super light for when it's in the high 60s and into the 70s, and you could wear them even on a warm summer day. They're cool enough for that, but they're going to block the wind for you, and they're going to be exactly what you need when it's a little bit chillier. And it's not just golf pants. They have shorts. They have a awesome, selection of bathing suits with a different bunch of different designs on it. Inner banks, my favorite style for the bathing suits. If you go to birddogs.com, you can check out what those look like. A lot of polo options as well. They've got and sweatpants, of course, stretch khakis. They've got it all at Bird Dogs. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. If you enter the promo code LockedOnNHL, they're going to give you a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. But again, for that, go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. Enter the promo code LockedOnNHL. Welcome back to the Locked On Sabres podcast with Joe DiBiase. We are going through our exit interview series with the Sabres, and this is our last forward to get through before we start heading through some defensemen. For you everydayers, another thing to look forward to. Frank Saravelli released his top 50 free agents with projected contract at Daily Faceoff. I'm going to want to run through that list. There's a bunch of ideas I'm very interested in for the Buffalo Sabres defensemen, and that is coming up for you on our next show. Of course, more Amerks coverage as well. How about Jordan Greenway, though? The Sabres traded a second-round pick at the trade deadline to acquire Jordan Greenway from the Minnesota Wild, who had been having a very, very, very down year for the Minnesota Wild. He had only scored 2 goals on the season in 45 games played, 2 goals, 7 assists. His ice time was down at 13 minutes and 18 seconds a night, and he had really fallen out of favor in Minnesota. The guy that he was supposed to be, Marcus Foligno, had completely taken over that role. And there really was not a home for in Minnesota's lineup, I thought, for Jordan Greenway. So when the Sabres acquired him, all right, we got what we got here. An energy player, physical, big, mean, but can produce, good skater, can chip goals in here or there. Maybe there's more offensively from there. I said then, and I still hold to this, you can't say you know what a guy is with Don Granato until you see what he is with Don Granato, who gets more offensively out of every player than any other coach. And that did happen to some extent with Jordan Greenway. Greenway came in for the Sabres, and there was some goal production. 4 goals in 17 games. Nothing crazy, but that's a 19-goal pace when stretched out over 82 games, which would easily be a career high for him. 12 goals is actually his career high. So the goal totals was there, but 0 assists, nothing there, was not a very strong penalty killer. And he gave you the physical aspect, but I'm not going to lie, was not impressed with Jordan Greenway and his energy level. I thought we were being sold here was a player that was just going to be a hellraiser after you at all times, relentless on the forecheck, big skater that can move at high rates of speed. And I don't know, I don't want to call him a lazy player. Maybe it's just his skating. I've been a victim of this before. Thomas Vanek was a guy like this where he seemed like he was lazy because of the way he skated, and he really wasn't. So I want to give some notion that could be Jordan Greenway. But man, when I watch Jordan Greenway, I just don't see that motor. I don't. And for a guy that plays his style, I think you gotta have that. And he just didn't seem to. So it's a short, small sample size, 17 games. He might have been dealing with an injury. I remember that being referenced at the end of season press conferences. So I don't want to completely judge a book by the cover. But that's my impression so far of Jordan Greenway. Okay, I see some talent. And I see his ability to put the puck in the back of the net. There is more for Granato to squeeze out of that. But if he's going to play the role he's playing, I got to see that motor be grinding. And it's got to be moving. And I just didn't see it. So for me, with Greenway, a little bit of goal production, not a lot of overall offensive production. I think you wanted more defensively and in the penalty kill and as an energy level. I'd give Jordan Greenway a B- for his 22-23 Sabre season. Again, it being only 17 games. Now, how does he fit into the future? He's got 2 years left on his contract at $3 million. So the cap is completely fine. The Sabres are not near the salary cap. They'll have to make a decision after the 24-5 season of when they have to pay him. So it's way in the future. We're talking like he's played 17 games for the Sabres. We're talking 150 plus games before the Sabres have to make a decision on him. So way in the future. Now, what I will say is the best line for him, I think, is a defensive line. But again, he's got to be better in that regard. I like the idea of putting him with Peyton Krebs and Tyson Jost if all three of those guys are back, and that being a checking line. Or hell, if Zemgus Girgensons is gone and Kyle Okposo now is back on a one-year deal, I think Greenway is a logical fit. Maybe with Peyton Krebs in the middle, somebody else, maybe Rusek in the middle, Lucas Rusek, the fourth energy line that can play defensive checking style. I think Okposo is always going to be on that type of line from here on out. I think if Girgensons is gone, I think Greenway is his replacement. Greenway is the Zemgus replacement. But he's got to do a lot more in his own end and energy-wise, because Zemgus is a bat out of hell at all times. Like, relentless. That does not leave you alone. Pesters you. And I think Greenway needs to have a little bit more Zemgus in him if he's going to be the guy that replaces Zemgus, if indeed Girgensons is going to leave in free agency. So Alex Tuch, or Jordan Greenway, I should say, B-. Want to see more from him defensively. I think that's what you're looking for in the future, is a checking line, but not top six. That experiment that Granato had with him in the top line, I think that needs to end. All right. That's it for us here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. As I mentioned, next time, maybe a little bit more on this Okposo contract. We'll see if we get any comments from Okposo or Kevin Adams on that front, maybe even Don Granato. Amerks talk as well, Thursday night, game 2, and that's when we will talk to you next time. So thanks, everybody, for listening. At Sneaky Joe Sports, you want to follow me on Twitter and check out the podcast on YouTube. You can like and subscribe and throw us a comment. We'll always be ready to read it here on the show. Talk to you next time here on Locked On Sabres.